you came back. I can't believe it. All hundreds and thousands of you, you're back. We're going to be talking today on Chapter 2, the Golden Triangle. As you can see here, we have adapted that to be a blue triangle. I want to remind you, here's a pop quiz. Who do you trust, Metaxas or Roger? You trust Metaxas if I disagree with him. I'm summarizing my ideas on what he wrote. He gets into Chapter 2 with this opening quote from Alex Tocqueville. Liberty cannot be established without morality nor without faith. How could America continue to exist? How will we continue to push it along? And how could we exist if we forget the principles upon which it was founded? We must understand what it means to be American. And here enters Os Guinness in his book, A Free People's Suicide. He says that our freedom and our liberty is based on the triangle that we'll fill in behind me, and that each part rests on the other part. And then if we take off one side of the triangle, it falls apart. So each piece is joined and is vital to the existence of that triangle. His first piece is our freedom we thought that we'd have a PowerPoint, make it real fancy and flash it up, and then we went, nah, we changed our minds. Our freedom is based on, that's an R, the word virtue. Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As men become less virtuous, we call them corrupt. As they become less virtuous, the government must become a stronger master, and the government requires stricter rules. As John Adams' cousin, Zabdiel, said, if you're expecting a child, let me just commend the name Zabdiel as an excellent name, just short of Roger. Zabdiel Adams said, the only foundation of a free constitution is pure virtue. That without virtue, the Constitution becomes muted. Alex de Tocqueville said later, here was what struck him on page 59. Not until I went into the churches of America and heard her pulpits aflame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her, America's, genius and power. America is great because she is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. Let me read that part again. America is great because she is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. Freedom requires virtue. But wait, how do you support virtue? Virtue is only supported by the simple idea of faith. Faith in the Creator who created virtue. How can we be virtuous without faith in the virtuous God? John Adams rings in again on this when he says, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any others. Adams understood that the secret to self-government is that the people must themselves be self-governing, which is to say, they must be motivated by something beyond the law. 63, Tocqueville said that no country in the world where Christian religion retains a greater influence over the souls of men than in America. In other words, nowhere else in the world does religion, Christian religion, exude such a greater influence over the souls of men. Washington jumped in and said this in his farewell address: "Let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles." We cannot be expected to believe that national morality can exist in exclusion of religious principles. But wait, there's another component we need to discuss. Not only does our freedom require virtue, and our virtue requires faith, but in fact, our faith requires freedom. For faith to impact a country, freedom must exist. Yes, faith exists in countries where there is no freedom, but that faith does not impact the country, only in a country that requires and allows the freedom. Tocqueville said this on 67. He said, "In France, I had almost always seen the spirit of religion and the spirit of freedom marching in opposite directions. But in America, I found that they were intimately united and that they reigned in common over the same country." How do we support the religious liberty of our country? It is not by dictating one religion. It is also not by disallowing the practice of religion in its whole. And it is not the separation of church and state. And as you read through this chapter, and especially as you hit page 70 and 71 and on out, Metaxas will address the idea of what does it mean, separation of church and state. And he summarizes it on page 73, where he says, "Yes, be religious. We will not only tolerate it, we will respect it, and we will encourage it. But we cannot take sides or put our thumbs on the scale." The people that came to America were trying to escape a government that told them they had to be religious and had to be of one religion. Our government welcomes those of all religions, but must not squash any religion. We are woefully close to the point where our government is beginning to squash our religion. The founders wrote on page 74 that the government could not establish a religion. Certainly, that's what they meant by separation of church and state. You can read that interesting letter that Jefferson wrote to the Danbury Baptists, a fascinating story. So to sum up, look at page 76, and he sums it up. To sum up, the one thing that it was necessary for self-government in the United States to exist and function was religion. But religion itself could not properly function unless religion were detached from the government. And therein lies this freedom of faith. And he says, only when religion was truly free could it be true religion. Let us give thanks for our true religion, our free religion in America. But let us fight and fight hard to maintain the freedom to practice our religion, which in fact supports our virtue, which in fact supports our very government. Thanks.